Johnny Depp has been one of the most recognizable faces in the world for over 3 decades. From the quiet outsider in Edward Scissorhands to the unpredictable Captain Jack Sparrow, he built a career on characters that felt unforgettable. At one point, he was among the highest-paid actors in Hollywood, leading billion-dollar films and drawing fans from every corner of the globe. For years, his life looked like a dream from the outside: fame, fortune, global success, and total creative freedom. But behind the success, there were pressures, personal battles, and a lifestyle that slowly began to take a toll. Now at 62, Johnny Depp is living a life very different from what most people imagine when they think of a Hollywood legend. The red carpets are less frequent. The blockbuster schedules are not constant. And the man who once lived in the center of Hollywood now spends much of his time away from it. So what is really going on with him today? How is his health after decades of intense work, travel, and stress? What struggles has he faced in recent years, both publicly and privately? Where is he living now, and what does his daily life actually look like? And perhaps most importantly, how has everything he's been through changed him as a person? In this video, we're going to explore everything. From his rise to global fame, to the pressures that came with it, to the legal battles and personal challenges that reshaped his life. We'll look at his health and the reality of growing older after living one of the most intense careers Hollywood has ever seen. By the end of this video, you'll see the full picture. Not just the movie star the world knows, but the person behind the headlines. The man who experienced massive success, very public struggles, and is now living a very different kind of life than most people expect. Stay with us until the end, because the truth about how Johnny Depp is living at 62 is more human, more complicated, and more surprising than many realize. Johnny Depp's story doesn't begin with luxury or fame. It begins with instability. Born in 1963 in Kentucky and raised in Florida, Depp grew up in a household that moved frequently. By the time he was a teenager, he had already lived in multiple places. The constant change created a sense of restlessness that would follow him into adulthood. He dropped out of school at 16 with dreams of becoming a musician. Acting wasn't even the plan at first. He played guitar, performed in bands, and tried to build a career through music. But life had other ideas. A chance connection in Los Angeles introduced him to acting auditions. Not long after, he landed a role in A Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984. It was a small start, but it opened the door. His real breakthrough came with the TV series 21 Jump Street. Suddenly, Depp was everywhere. Teen magazines, posters, interviews. He became a heartthrob almost overnight. But there was a problem. He hated being seen as just a teen idol. Instead of chasing safe blockbuster roles, Depp began making unusual career choices. He worked with directors like Tim Burton and chose characters that were strange, emotional, and often dark. Films like Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, and Donnie Brasco showed audiences he wasn't interested in being predictable. Then came the role that changed everything: Captain Jack Sparrow. When Pirates of the Caribbean released in 2003, few expected Depp's eccentric performance to become iconic. But it did. The character became one of the most recognizable in film history, and Depp became one of the highest-paid actors in the world. At his peak, he wasn't just famous, he was a global phenomenon. Studios paid him tens of millions per film. Fans lined up for hours just to see him. Directors trusted him to carry major franchises. He had achieved what very few actors ever do: total creative freedom and massive financial success at the same time. But that level of fame comes with pressure most people never see. And slowly, cracks began forming behind the scenes. At the height of his career, Johnny Depp wasn't just earning millions. He was spending them just as fast. Reports from former financial managers later revealed how enormous his lifestyle had become. Multiple homes around the world. Luxury properties in Los Angeles, France, and private islands. Art collections. Rare guitars. Staff working full-time to maintain his properties and schedule. At one point, it was estimated that his monthly expenses reached into the millions. To many fans, it looked like the dream life. But maintaining that lifestyle required constant blockbuster success. Hollywood can be unforgiving. When the hits slow down or contracts change, even the biggest stars can feel pressure. And as years passed, Depp's career choices became less commercially successful. Some films underperformed. Others received mixed reactions. At the same time, personal habits began catching up with him. Years of smoking, late nights, heavy schedules, and constant travel took a toll. Fame also brought constant public attention. Every appearance was photographed. Every decision was analyzed. People who worked with him described him as intensely creative but also increasingly exhausted. Decades of non-stop work can wear anyone down, especially when the entire world is watching. He still had major success. He still had devoted fans. But the balance between work, spending, and personal life was becoming harder to maintain. Behind the luxury, pressure was building. Being one of the most recognizable actors in the world sounds glamorous. In reality, it can be isolating. For Depp, fame created distance from normal life. Privacy became rare. Trust became complicated. The more famous he became, the smaller his inner circle grew. He has spoken in interviews about long-standing struggles with anxiety and the difficulty of constant public scrutiny. Like many artists, he turned to music, art, and sometimes unhealthy coping habits to deal with stress. Years of intense filming schedules also brought physical strain. Long hours on set, demanding roles, and international travel created exhaustion. As he entered his 40s and 50s, the physical toll of decades in Hollywood became more noticeable. Friends and collaborators described periods where he seemed drained by the expectations placed on him. Audiences saw the characters on screen. They didn't always see the pressure behind them. At the same time, his personal life became more public than ever. Relationships, arguments, and private matters began appearing in headlines. For someone who had always valued privacy, this level of exposure was difficult. And it would only become more intense in the years ahead. Johnny Depp's relationships have always attracted media attention. From early romances to long-term partnerships, his personal life often became headline news. His relationship with Vanessa Paradis lasted many years and brought 2 children into his life. He often described fatherhood as one of the most grounding experiences he'd ever had. But after that relationship ended, his life entered a more turbulent phase. New relationships brought intense media focus. Every appearance, every rumor, every disagreement became public discussion. The private life he once protected became increasingly difficult to keep out of headlines. For a global star, personal conflicts rarely stay private. They become stories. Speculation spreads quickly, and the emotional impact can be heavy. During this time, Depp was still working, still touring with music projects, still filming. But the stress of constant scrutiny was growing. Then came the period that would change everything. There was a time when Johnny Depp was considered one of the safest bets in Hollywood. Studios built massive films around him. Audiences showed up just to see his name on a poster. But in the late 2010s, things shifted. Major film roles began disappearing. Some projects moved forward without him. Public controversies made studios cautious. Hollywood is an industry that often avoids risk, and intense media attention can make executives nervous. For Depp, this meant a sudden change in career momentum. The same actor who once led billion-dollar franchises found himself facing uncertainty about future roles. Public opinion became divided. Headlines focused more on legal battles than film releases. Being at the center of global media attention is emotionally exhausting. Being there during conflict is even harder. For years, his name was associated with courtrooms, statements, and constant coverage. Even after legal outcomes began to settle, the damage to his career and public image had already taken effect. He stepped away from many Hollywood projects and began spending more time outside the United States. Music, art, and quieter creative work became a bigger part of his life. The man who once lived in non-stop blockbuster mode was now entering a very different chapter. And the most intense battles were still ahead. Few actors in modern history have had their personal lives examined as publicly as Johnny Depp's. What might have remained private disputes in another era instead became global headlines, televised proceedings, and endless online debate. For Depp, the legal battles were not just about reputation. They affected his work, his relationships, and his future in the film industry. Every day of testimony and every court appearance became part of a global conversation. Supporters and critics followed each development closely. The attention was constant, and for someone who had spent decades trying to keep parts of his life private, it was overwhelming. He has spoken about how difficult it was to see personal matters discussed in public spaces. Regardless of the legal outcomes, the experience itself was emotionally draining. Courtrooms are not designed for healing. They are designed for arguments, evidence, and decisions. And when those courtrooms are watched by millions, the pressure multiplies. During this period, Depp's work opportunities slowed. Studios hesitated. Projects paused. Some collaborators remained supportive, while others stepped back. For an actor who had spent decades at the top of his field, the sudden shift was jarring. At the same time, he found support from fans around the world. Many followed the proceedings closely and expressed their views publicly. For Depp, That support became a source of strength during a period that felt isolating. But legal battles take more than emotional energy. They require time, money, and focus. They can dominate daily life. They can make it difficult to plan for the future. By the time the trials concluded, Depp had spent years in a cycle of preparation, testimony, and recovery. Even after the legal outcomes were decided, the emotional effects didn't simply disappear. Public perception had shifted. His career path had changed. And his priorities began to shift with it. The trials didn't just mark a chapter in his life. They reshaped it. At his peak, Johnny Depp earned enormous sums. Blockbuster films, endorsements, and long-running franchises made him one of the highest-paid actors in the world. But high earnings don't always guarantee long-term financial stability. Over time, reports surfaced about large expenses, complex financial arrangements, and disputes with former financial managers. Lawsuits followed. Claims and counterclaims were filed. The details were debated publicly and privately. Maintaining multiple homes, paying staff, traveling constantly, and supporting creative projects require significant resources. For years, Depp lived on a scale few people experience. But when film roles slowed and legal battles intensified, the financial pressure increased. The combination of legal costs and reduced studio work created a period of uncertainty. Even for someone who had earned hundreds of millions over his career, the situation required adjustments. In response, Depp began making changes. Some properties were sold. Spending habits shifted. He focused more on projects that felt personally meaningful rather than purely commercial. Music tours, art exhibitions, and smaller film roles became part of his rebuilding process. Rebuilding finances after years of high spending isn't just about numbers. It's about lifestyle changes. It's about deciding what matters most. For Depp, creative expression remained central. Even as he adjusted his finances, he continued making music and creating art. Friends and collaborators described this period as one of recalibration. Not a complete withdrawal from work, but a change in priorities. The focus moved away from maintaining a massive Hollywood presence and toward sustaining a more manageable life. Financial recovery is rarely immediate. It happens gradually. Through projects, planning, and time, Depp worked to stabilize his situation. The process required patience, something not always easy for someone used to fast-paced film production. By his early 60s, he was in a different financial position than at his peak, but also in a different mindset. Less focused on maintaining an empire. More focused on maintaining balance. A life spent on film sets, touring stages, and international travel takes a physical toll. By the time Johnny Depp reached his 60s, he had spent decades working long hours under intense pressure. Like many in the entertainment industry, he had habits that affected his health over time. Smoking, irregular sleep schedules, and constant travel can strain the body. Injuries from film sets and long performances add up. Even for someone who appears energetic on stage, the cumulative effect is real. As he aged, Depp began slowing down. Not completely, he still performs music and takes on select projects, but at a more measured pace. Touring schedules are shorter. Film roles are chosen carefully. Time for rest and privacy has become more important. Burnout is common among performers who work at the highest levels for decades. The expectation to always deliver, always perform, and always be available can create deep exhaustion. Stepping back from that pace can be necessary for long-term well-being. Those who have worked with Depp in recent years describe him as more reflective, more deliberate about where he spends his energy. Still creative, still passionate about music and film, but less interested in the non-stop pace that defined his earlier career. Aging also brings perspective. For someone who has lived through intense public scrutiny, legal battles, and career shifts, reaching his 60s offers a chance to reassess. Health becomes more important. Stress management becomes essential. Depp has continued performing with music groups and appearing at select events, but he does so on his own terms. The goal is no longer constant visibility. It's sustainability. For much of his career, Los Angeles was central to Johnny Depp's life. But in recent years, he has spent more time abroad. Europe, in particular, has offered him a sense of distance from Hollywood's constant attention. Living outside the traditional Hollywood environment allows for more privacy. Smaller communities. Fewer paparazzi. A slower pace. For someone who has lived under intense public scrutiny, that change can be refreshing. Music has become a major focus. Performing with friends and fellow musicians provides creative expression without the same pressures as blockbuster films. Art has also played a significant role. Painting and visual art offer a different kind of outlet. one that doesn't require a film crew or a global marketing campaign. This phase of his life has been about choosing projects carefully, appearing in films that interest him rather than those expected of him, participating in music tours that feel meaningful, spending time with close friends and family rather than maintaining a constant public presence. He still attends select events and occasionally returns to film sets, but the rhythm is different now. Less driven by industry expectations, more guided by personal interest. Fans still recognize him everywhere he goes. His legacy is secure. But the way he lives day to day is quieter than during his peak Hollywood years. At 62, Johnny Depp's life is defined less by headlines and more by routine. He wakes without the constant pressure of blockbuster schedules. He spends time on music, art, and smaller creative projects. He travels, but more selectively. He works, but at his own pace. The Hollywood machine that once demanded constant output is no longer the center of his world. Instead, he exists somewhere between public figure and private individual. Recognized everywhere, but living more quietly than before. He remains close to his children and values family connections. Long-term friendships have become more important than industry relationships. Trust, after years of public conflict, is something he approaches carefully. Physically, he shows the signs of a life lived intensely. Decades of work, travel, and stress leave marks. But he continues creating, continues performing, continues showing up for fans who have supported him through every phase. The man he is today is not the same as the one who dominated box offices in the early 2000s.
He is older, more reflective, more cautious,
but still deeply connected to the creative world that defined his life. His legacy in film is secure. Characters like Captain Jack Sparrow and Edward Scissorhands remain part of cinematic history. Future generations will continue discovering his work. As for the future, it remains open. More music, more selective film roles, more time spent outside the spotlight. The pace may be slower, but the creative drive is still there. Johnny Depp at 62 is not living the Hollywood fantasy people imagine. He is living something more complicated,
more human, more private.
And after everything he has experienced, that quieter life may be exactly what he needs. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. Johnny Depp's journey has been filled with success, pressure, public battles, and personal struggles. Whether you've supported him for years or just wanted to understand his story, his life at 62 shows how much a person can go through behind the fame. If you enjoyed this video and want more like this about legendary actors and their real lives, make sure to like the video and subscribe before you leave. It really helps the channel grow and lets us continue making video like this. And let me know in the comments, which actor or celebrity should we cover next? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.